so that was going to be a thing. I felt like a kinship with you because I know that you've described yourself when you initially started as an unhappy, angry person.
Yes.
And unfortunately, because the content we made was based around that, and usually it was us lashing out and then people going, yes, I love you for this. You like lean into it.
Of course.
And become...
I'm relating hard.
Yeah, which is like, then you become the even like worst version of yourself. And I see moments of it now still in me because I've definitely changed. I constantly refer to me 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago as just a giant asshole that I would punch in the face.
Yeah.
But on days where I'm doing, the Daily Show, which I really do need to change that schedule. It's just, there's certain days where it's just like, we don't need to talk about this.
Right.
Where I'm extra tired. This week has been a really rough one. It's like I've been sick or someone's been sick or too much information. I had a vasectomy this week, so I was like recovering, but while working. Yes, my wife says there's nothing sexier than a man that can't get her pregnant. I was like, thank you. I'm so glad.
That's actually brilliant. Wow.
Yes. No, she was holding on to that comment until I posted the picture from the hospital. She's like, yes, this is what I wanted.
Wait, did she comment it?
Oh, yeah.
That's
yes.
amazing.
Oh,
Your wife
yeah.
is so dope, dude.
Her favorite move is to like jokingly give me shit or just like kind of insinuate something. But if I'm sick, I'll really lash out on a thing that maybe I wouldn't have given my opinion on. And then you see those applause and you're just like, fuck. Hey, welcome to this week's A Conversation With podcast. You get a new one every week on Wednesday. And today's guest is Gabbie Hanna, who is an internet personality, YouTuber, author, singer, songwriter. She got her start and blew up on Vine. She was able to successfully migrate that audience to Instagram, YouTube, all over the place. It's been really interesting to watch her content evolve over these years, but we really never sat down and chat. So that's why I invited her on the show, and that's what you're about to watch. Enjoy. Hey, welcome to A Conversation With. My name is Philip DeFranco, and today we're having a conversation with Gabbie Hanna.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, we didn't just shoot an entire podcast and I didn't do an intro.
No, that would be so amateur of you.
That would be so crazy.
Oh, totally.
But since we're just talking about this hypothetical, theoretical, something-ical situation, in your words, how would you describe who you are and what you do?
Oh my God, don't put that on me right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm somebody who's been very many people over the years and finally like who I am. How about that?
What is Okay, well, I'm glad that I definitely explained your career before I fucking asked that question. Anyway, here's the part of the podcast. And by that, I mean the entire podcast. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.
It's actually smart.
Also, thank you for telling me you've never watched this podcast. Rude.
Listen,
Rude. Hey, no, come on.
Here's the thing.
There's
I watch
too
your
many
news
fucking
show
people.
because you actually have the news.
Why do you watch the news show?
Because honestly, this is going to sound so terrible. That's kind of how I get my news.
That's such a good and a bad thing. Like, I have to rely on that because it is what brings people in or like brings the dollars in. But I'm such a self-doubter. Obviously, I feel like the key phrase this year, and I feel like because Casey Neistat and others threw it into into the ecosystem, is kind of the imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just feeling like, which is just an extension of fake it till you make it.
You don't deserve it.
But yeah, it's way guiltier.
Yeah.
Has way more guilt.
Well, I wrote a whole track about that. I don't know if you ever saw it when I did my second Roast Yourself, and then I went into this like second portion, and one of the lines is like, people are starving and I get gold for this. Like, I'm not doing anything. And it's just like, I totally get it, but you do it in such a good way.
Do you feel like that was inspired by Bo Burnham?
Probably inadvertently, because I am so inspired by him in so many ways. He's the reason I wrote my poetry book, because I was oh, Bo can do it, I can do it. And he's, since I've been, I think 14, 15 years old, been my #1 career inspiration. He's the reason for my entire career. I started Vine because I thought it was the dumbest app. I deleted it off my phone and I saw that Bo was posting Vine. So I was like, oh, I'm going to download the app again to keep up with him, because he hadn't posted YouTube videos. And then just kind of moved from that into YouTube. Then he wrote a poetry book. So I wrote a poetry book, and I just am so inspired by all of his work. I think he's brilliant. Yeah,
I feel like the people that are the most inspirational to me, like Bo, are the people that also make me feel the least talented. Because you obviously you end up comparing yourself to them. I listen to Art Is Dead and or a section of his Kanye West rant where he goes into the whole like that I need you more than I need you, I hate you.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like that is something that speaks to people that are creating for an audience in general, but also two, what's really stand out about his stuff is that we now live in a performer society.
Yeah.
So more people than ever can relate to it. Like I can't watch an old Bo Burnham special with my father-in-law or my dad. They don't get it. Right?
Exactly.
But you can watch it with anyone from like, I think probably, especially thanks to TikTok, like 12 to 30. And they're like, yes, I immediately understand this because whether they're putting it out to their thoughts or whatever they're doing to their friend group and the people in their school, to the people that have hundreds of thousands to millions of views, it's crazy.
He just has such an eloquent way of saying really everything. And even just like the burrito thing, if you really break down what he's saying about that burrito thing, is just basically like, I'm going to take it all in, I'm going to take it all in, but like, oh my God, I'm trying to do so much and I wanted it all. And now that I have it, I'm fucking exploding.
I would love if he was like, if he just leaves a comment on this video, it was like, it was really, the burrito,
bro.
It's too big. It's genuinely too big.
It's just too much.
But thank you. I appreciate you.
No, he's great. In 8th grade, that was a great movie for exactly what you're saying, which is just, we've never lived in a time, you and I at least, I'm sure a lot of people watching this podcast have, but I didn't have social media in high school and I'm only 28. So that came when I was, I think my junior year of college was when Instagram first hit the scene, and Twitter was a little bit before that. But we have never been quantified like that. And popularity is so different because everything was subjective. So it's like, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're a loser, you're a geek. And it was just kind of whatever. But now it's like, oh my God, she literally only has 30 followers. And oh my God, she has 500,000 followers. How did she do it? And it's so scary that you're so quantifiable, but now, and it's more objective and analytical. And now these kids are looking at each other. And if you don't have that, like, just their whole focus is on Instagram and wanting to be social media. I'm sure you've had this conversation with everybody on this podcast, but it's just sad. And
I know that you've referred to it as drugs, but you kind of saying it in the sense of like the quantifiable, just specifically that word. Like when I always kind of go to Newshead, in China, there's like this social score, right? But and obviously that involves the government. But yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we have that online to the point of if you're established, if you have a drop, your numbers are used against you as like, this is your value. This is the only thing that you are. It's something that people end up aspiring to as one of the only things of worth. But obviously things are attached to that number, whether it be, unfortunately, self-worth, but also dollars. I don't know. Well, one, it's not healthy. But two, I don't think it can effectively be walked back. Like Instagram can do all those things where they're like testing in Canada. They're like, no one can see. It's like, well, you can. Right. Yeah. If you really care enough, you can see the number of comments. You can see, the number of followers popping up. It's
and when you're so tethered to self-worth, or your self-worth is so tethered to numbers like that, the drop is bad too. Because on YouTube, there's peaks and valleys, and sometimes you're doing well and sometimes you're not. So if you're so absorbed in it and it's like you're having a great time and oh my God, I'm getting like 3 million views a video. This is great. And then all of a sudden you're getting like 600,000 a few months later. You're like, oh, so this is the end for me. Like this is the end of actually the worst time for me. This was, I think that this, because obviously we're going to bring up the monster meme. It's going to happen.
Here's the thing. I am so out of the loop on that. I got the smallest little bits of it. But that's, I don't know. I was like, okay, there's like a Genius video. For me, that was one of the things that I didn't fully care about. I don't know if we even... Maybe we covered it. I don't think
so, because I think I would have seen it if you did.
Yeah, I didn't for me, whenever it comes to kind of internet stories, and it's not to bash drama channels, because I think that it's just the TMZ-ification of like this generation. Well, not all of them, but it's just, if there's not like a legal aspect to it, it's not a historic moment in some way, then I don't know.
I mean, it was just like an internet joke. There's no reason to cover it, and I wouldn't expect you to. But that's a great example of, and I think that that's what finally pushed me into being, this is almost my final form. I'm pretty much an adult now. I'm very at peace. I'm very happy.
You really think that?
But I'm getting close, at least.
Like I just want, like, I will say this is, and this is obviously only my experience. I feel like, I forgot if the cameras were on at that point. You're gonna, I think, look back to where you are now and have a completely different opinion. For sure, where you are.
Definitely. But I feel pretty good right now. I feel like
that's a good mental space to be in. Right? To be like, I'm feeling dope. Like this is. If this was me forever, I'd be great and I'd be happy. I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah, it's just, I feel the most at peace and confident and sure in myself. And it's because it got so hard to be online at that time that I literally had to not open my phone for a long time. And in that process, I was like, what am I doing?
Did someone have to help you with that? Because I don't know how to resist that. If people are saying nice things about me, I don't need to go online. If people are saying negative things about me, it's this weird human urge where I need to see how I'm getting hit.
Yeah. I asked a couple of my friends at the time, you know, if something comes up that you think is necessary for me to know about, please let me know. But it was honestly so extremely painful to open my phone because you know how YouTube recommends, like I get videos recommended to me about me because I watch my own videos on my account. I'm searching stuff about myself, like on my music video, whatever. So
how about this? Because since I'm unfamiliar with it and a number of people might be unfamiliar with it, you made us, right? Can you give me the oversimplified version? Because my understanding is like you made a song. There was something either with the singing and then there was like artwork or I don't know what it was. Okay, the Monster thing is what you're talking about.
So basically I wrote a song called Monster. When I put the song out, it was really well received. People loved it. They're just like, oh, like the passion, the emotion, the lyrics, this is great. Everybody was into the song. So I went in to do a Genius interview, which was my second Genius interview. And I have a scream note. It's called kind of a scream note in the thing where it's like, what if I'm the monster? It's like really like high and full. And on the video, everybody was commenting, that's not her voice. It's auto-tune. It's fake. Like she can't actually sing that note. So I was like, all right, if I go into this Genius interview and I don't sing it, then everybody's going to be like, I knew she couldn't sing, whatever. So I was like, I'm going to sing it. So I asked the audio people, I was like, I'm going to try to do the scream note in here, but let me know if it's peaking the mics. And they were like, for sure, whatever. I sing the note. I was like, does it blow out the mic? They said, no, you're totally fine. Don't worry about it. Just like do it. So then it comes out and they cut the note like right before the high note from the boom mic to the camera mic. Like as soon as the note starts, it goes and like switches back to another one. So it's this very weird like sound. It's just weird. So then at first the memes were just like funny, kind of like putting a goat in place of that or like a phone alarm. And it was funny and genuinely I was laughing at it like, oh, I always wanted to be a meme, whatever. But then because I was already a recognizable face and then the meme was so viral, now it's like, oh, isn't there drama with this? Or isn't this the girl who did this? And now I'm a scam artist and now I'm capitalizing on mental health just to make money. And now I'm lying about having depression and anxiety. And now I'm selling scam products and now I'm bullying my fans.
It was a lot of stuff that kind of stacked at once?
Yeah, because you know how it gets like with the drama channels when there's just something to run with. Now it's like, oh, they covered that story, so now I'm going to cover it, but I'm going to put a new twist on it. At one point, it was that I bully my fans, which is couldn't be further from the truth.
Do you feel like there's ever been like a drama channel video that came out and they had just criticisms?
You mean, what do you mean?
Like oh,
like I thought you meant like just criticisms. What you mean like just
yes,
criticisms?
Just like valid.
If I'm being honest, I didn't really watch them because I just knew that it was going to spin out of control and it hurts me too much to watch them about myself. But yeah, so I guess it's hard to say, but all I was seeing really was like headlines and tweets of like, I bully my fans, I scam my fans, and then getting the cliff notes from my friends. But I'm sure that there's people out there that have legitimate things to say.
All right, so it's all kind of stacking. What was the situation with the art thing, or was that even a thing regarding Monster? Because it looked like you kind of like, once again, was very unfamiliar with the situation. You then try to like take control of the situation seemingly by monetizing it with like a shirt.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah, I drew that. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, it was a very brief lived thing and the kid like backed down really quickly.
Oh,
so this was when it was very like hate. So I drew like a very characterized version of that where like my entire face was just a mouth and I was wearing the same outfit as the Genius interview. And the kid who made the meme said that I owed him for drawing a picture based on the meme. Oh. Which, you know, I'm not fully versed in like copyright and art laws, but like, I'm sorry, no. That's just not how it works. You made a meme about me using my face. Sure. And then I drew a completely different interpretation by hand. Like you don't get to.
Oh, so it was really different.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Like his was, I think he like enlarged my mouth. Sure. Like took it out and then it was like that. And it was just like a very quickly done.
But then you said he backed down?
Yeah, because I was just like, first of all, it's my face.
Sure.
Like, you can't monetize my face. Second of all, like, this is a completely different derivative piece of art. Like, you made a meme based on my face, and then based on a very viral meme, I hand drew a picture of myself with my mouth as a face. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm wrong, but like, I just don't feel like I am.
The lawyers listening right now, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. But
I was
to
like,
me, that
I
felt
am
weird.
not skilled enough to know.
Yeah, no, they just like, you know the Snapchat filter where they make your mouth real big?
Sure.
It was that.
Oh, okay.
And then I drew a cartoon version of that.
I'm trying to think. I need to have a scandal that's monetizable that I can throw on merch.
Honey, everything's monetizable.
Oh, wow.
Truly.
Not me.
Like a tragedy is a work of art, baby.
Oh, no. So actually, a question regarding kind of, there are a few questions I have about money, and I feel like you're comfortable talking to it about it to a certain degree, because I was skimming through stuff. I saw you asking Logan Paul how much money he made.
Oh, yeah. Well, because I could tell that was something he really wanted to talk about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like to talk to people about what they're interested in, and Logan Paul loves money. So I wanted to, like, he's somebody who'd be like, yeah, I make a lot of fucking money because, like, look at all this shit I have. Right. So he's down. But I'm pretty open too.
But I want to ask, like, because there was obviously a time where money wasn't a huge part of it. And that's most notably, I think, or at least the outside world realizes, was Vine. Yeah. Right? It was this massive, big thing. Notably, people weren't really making money via, well, they were making money via sponsorships and stuff like that.
We were making a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, but not directly from
Not from
them.
Vine, no.
Were you one of the creators that did the kind of demand before Vine died?
The $1.2 million contract?
Is that what it was?
Let's talk about it, sister.
Oh.
I'd love to.
So wait, were you part of this group that was asking for money?
Yeah, I was a part of it. Well, not quite. Okay. So I found out about it. I found out that there was a group of people who were asking for money, and they were going to basically boycott Vine and stop posting, and Vine did not post.
This is probably what, the Pauls, probably King Batch, maybe a Cerny or two.
Yeah, like it was basically, for the most part, the top 25, which I was a part of.
Sure.
And then, but it wasn't all of the top 25, but then there were some people sprinkled in who are like, we were very into our stats in those days. So it was very much like, oh my God, that's like, she's number 38 on Rank Zoo, like stuff like that. So there were some people who were like, might have been 100 or whatever, who were very closely friends with those people. So I found out about it, and I was like, listen, I think this is fucked, but if people are getting paid and that person's getting paid and I'm not, I'm in it.
Yeah.
So basically I got pulled in with another one of my friends, and we got to this meeting, and it was, I'm not going to out her like that, but there was this girl who like told this guy that she liked, and the guy that she liked told this guy, and then this guy told this guy, and then it got back to me, and I was like, I'm there, sis.
Yeah.
So basically they were demanding $1.2 million a piece. And in the meeting, I was the one who said, listen, I don't think that this is the right move. I was like, YouTube took, I think, 4 years to even start monetizing. And then even then it was a really big deal. You guys are getting $50,000 a Vine, dude. Like, I wasn't, but there were people who were getting $50,000 per sponsored Vine. They became millionaires very quickly. And I was like, so Vine's not paying you directly, but they did give you this platform that allowed you to do this. And I think you just need to ride it out, make the money you're making, don't demand more. Let's all just chill. So basically they asked for $1.2 million. And I think Vine thought that they meant for all of us to split amongst us, but they meant $1.2 million a piece. Right. And there were like 25 of us or something. So they were asking for like $30 million, and Vine was already bankrupt. Twitter was bankrupt. So they didn't have the money to give, which was another argument I had where I was like, Vine doesn't have money. Twitter's literally bankrupt. They can't pay us that. So then they stopped posting. They like held on to their promise, and they all sort of had a pact of like, all right, like if you post and fuck this all up for all of us, you know, we're going to hate you forever. Yeah. So everybody stopped posting and moved to Instagram, and that was all she wrote.
Wow. Jeez. I wonder if it's one of those situations where like the people that worked at Vine either go, you know what? No, it was an unsolvable issue, or if some of them look back and kind of wish that they had offered you guys equity or just fucking something. Because that is, because I think if I had been in y'all's shoes, I don't know if I would have actually stopped posting, just because, like you said, you know, you could get the sponsorships, but I would have probably dedicated that time to just moving the audience, because
that's what I did from the start.
Because the greatest, I was going to say, the greatest currency of Vine, I think, honestly, the greatest currency of TikTok now is the ability to garner a new, young, fresh audience that's going to be able to follow you for the next 10 years.
Exactly.
You know,
and that was another argument for it, was just like, listen, guys, you're still building an audience. Send them to Instagram, send them to YouTube. I was just shocked at how much it was strictly like money, and the fact that nobody else was really seeing the bigger picture of, oh, but I have 10 million followers or whatever it was. Like I can really capitalize on this. But at the end of the day, Vine was going to die anyways. And I knew that's why I started YouTubing, I think 6 months after I started Vine. Because I was like, this is a very short-lived platform.
Well, because you were posting like Vine compilations at first, right?
Or at least, no, I don't think so.
Or at least that's publicly, those are the first videos on your account. Have you gone back?
Are they?
Yeah. Have you gone back?
My first video was a Q&A.
Really?
And stories, yeah.
Oh.
I think that I might have added some Vine compilations in later, and then I moved them all to my vlog channel.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, that wasn't the platform that I was using that for.
I wonder if the focus on money is based off of timing. So, okay, so you put out, what would you say was your first Vine that popped?
I didn't really have one.
Really? So it was a slow
pretty
burn?
slow crack. Yeah.
Oh.
I was just really consistent with it. It was like I went home after work every night and I was like,
I respect that.
Following like the tags and, you know, collaborating with people and getting in group chats and watching the trends and figuring out what people liked. I was really, really in it at the time.
I get that. Yeah. Early days YouTube, I just paid attention to the front page back when we had video responses, and I heavily focused on that. Oh yeah. Big time. I was a reply girl before there were reply girls. Only like half the audience, or a tenth of the audience even knows what I'm talking about. Okay, so from when you started, or let's say when you thought that at the very least you were relevant on Vine, to when did you do a sponsored post on Vine?
Yeah.
So what was the difference in timing there? So you kind of feel relevant to when you get that offer.
Well, the first offers were so low that, so do you mean those or like a real one?
Sure. I mean, you could start with like, are you talking about like several hundred or several thousand?
The first offer I got, I think, was maybe between $200 and $400. And then after I did the first one, I was like, oh, I can ask a little more, and asked 500, which at the time
and you're like,
was
I'm
great.
ripping them off. And they're like, I can't believe we got this.
Yeah. But also people didn't know. I don't think the companies really understood either at the time, and they were 6 seconds, so it's like, what can it really do? But it was just basically dating apps and stuff like what the fuck was the one that everybody Badoo, yeah, that was one of them. Everybody was like Badoo,
sure, that is one.
Yeah, so it was like a few $100s, and then you started realizing like, oh, I can make a few more, and like maybe I can make a couple thousand.
So from when you feel relevant to when you get even those few $100 offers, what was the time there, do you think?
A month and a half, maybe 2 months.
Well, I feel like that might be part of the reason, because when I and a number of people started, and it's not like we're on high horses in any fucking way.
Yeah.
We were on for years.
There was nothing. Yeah.
No, like I think one of my first sponsorships was probably like this fucking, it was several years in, and it was like a weird sex board game.
Okay.
And I was just like, yes, I feel like it's literally a few $100s.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I'll take this. And even YouTube YouTube at that time saying like, yeah, we'll pay you. That took several years. And once they said they would do it, that's when I quit. I jumped out of college. But yeah, I feel like maybe that's where part of the worth came from.
I think so too, but there's also, I think with Viners specifically, because it was something that I experienced and something that I think I've witnessed in other people, is the tie that you have, that you bond chemically to Vine was so strong, because I'm sure you're familiar with like Pavlov's dogs, I'm assuming. So, the association between like doing this and like checking your phone and being on it, and the reward was so high because we were getting followers so fast. Vine was explosive. Like overnight you would gain 10,000, and then you would just watch it. You'd refresh it. Oh my God, I just got 500 more. Oh my God. So, and the more you posted and the more you paid attention to it, the more you would get. So the association and the tie between the two got so strong and toxic. And then you just get this huge inflated ego because you're growing so fast, and now you're addicted literally to this thing. And your entire life, honestly, like a drug, how your life is like, I need that drug, I need that drug, I need that drug, and that's all I care about. I don't care about people, I don't care about anything else except for this. That's what it became for a lot of people, because it was like people were getting 1 million followers in a month. It's unheard of. Now we're getting these offers for thousands of dollars. And most people on the internet, I think, are people who didn't quite click in real life. At least it used to be. Now
for
it's
me,
the cool
I think that's
thing
an
to
accurate
do.
description of me.
Yeah. Now it's the popular kids are like, we're the hottest, we're the coolest, like we have the followers. But it used to be like, oh, I don't have any friends. So we had all this attention.
I would say it definitely feels like, I feel like we're definitely different parts of the internet in that aspect. Just because Yeah, no one's ever accused me of being like the hottest or the coolest. No one's made that accusation, and especially earlier on.
Well, same.
But no, especially earlier on, I feel like I was kind of more closely tied to, not always, but some of the more edgy content.
Yeah.
Whereas,
oh, I've seen it. You keep it all up. You
yeah.
don't delete.
No, I don't delete. But I think it shows. I genuinely get less annoyed than I used to, but people still constantly try and throw my past in my face, and I'm like, well, like you said, I don't delete it. It's still there. It's not like I fucking forgot.
Yeah,
I think it's a showcasing of how
Growth.
I've grown.
Yeah.
Someone, I think, what was it? Last night. Do you watch football at all? No.
Phil, do I look like somebody who watches football?
I don't want to assume.
No.
I mean, you have dyed hair, but anything is possible. No, that could be for a team that I am unaware of.
That is true.
So no, I said, like, if anyone's kind of like cheering this one player getting injured, you're at the very least kind of a piece of shit. And someone went 8 years back and found when I like kind of jokingly predicted that Tom Brady was going to get injured, and someone's like, I guess you're kind of a piece of shit, and like some sports Twitter kind of shared it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to address it because it was like online because it was just going to blow up more, but yes, I've openly talked about I was a piece of shit.
Well, we all were.
Yeah.
Because that's what growing up is.
Yeah.
We all start off as like really egocentric, shitty little selfish assholes.
I missed the fucking memo where if I said something 8 years ago, I got to stand by it and defend it.
That's just cancel culture though.
Yeah.
I think it's only going to get way worse before it maybe starts to get better. I think at some point maybe we'll reach a peak where we're like, okay, we got to forgive people now.
Sure. I will admit if it's, and I'll do it if it's closer in time, because I feel like there's a sense of cancel culture, but also people love to point out hypocrisy, right? So I think if I had like several weeks before said some shit, and then because like a player that I like got hurt, people can point out.
Yeah, of course, but
so
you're also not going
it.
to say something that like you're not going to change that much of a person in 2 weeks, so you won't really have a need to do that.
But still, people will try to. And for some, unfortunately, successfully, you can use the word cancel or diminish everything I've done because of that one thing, and it's just like, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone in that. I think people love that, dude. That's why I don't like the internet anymore, and why I'm not on it.
You are on it.
No,
though.
I'm not.
I went to your Instagram. You posted 6 stories at least today.
But I'm not looking at them. I'm not looking at my views. I'm not looking at my likes.
You just throw it out there.
I actually just wrote a post about that because it was Mental Health Awareness Day, and everybody was like, "Where's your post?" Because I'm so open about mental health. And then the next day, I figured out that it was mental health, so I completely missed it because I wasn't online. And I made a post saying like, I missed it because I wasn't online. I'm not online because the worst thing for my mental health is to be online. So I post and I go. I have no idea how many views my last YouTube video has. I don't know how many likes my pictures are getting.
So are you? Oh, okay. So wait, are you essentially a drug dealer then?
Pretty much.
You're like, I'm not getting high on my own supply.
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
But if you guys want it, take it.
Do you really think that's true though? Because I do notice that on your Instagram stories, one of your big things is that you like to kind of point out people engaging with your content and appreciating it. So you still have that interaction, but it's
usually pretty early in the comments. Like I'll look because that's where nice people are there.
So you kind of just
before the trolls come, yeah.
Hey, but you always got to appreciate probably the 10 to a few hundred people that just they have notifications on, just be like, fuck you, and they peace out. It's
I don't
like,
think
that's
I really
dedication.
have that. I think people
Really?
during like last December when I was going through all that thing, it wasn't cool to like me anymore. So I think a lot of people were like, I can't be seen following her, and they unfollowed. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was really intense.
No, I was like, I always have a little bit of a appreciate the dedication. There's no matter what, in the first hour, there's always
the dislikes
almost
immediately.
the same. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
You didn't even see what I said.
I'll like look maybe right at the beginning, or you know how like at the bottom you can see like the first 2 comments, and if there's one that I really like, I'll go in there. I also post comments from my Patreon because that's where people are like really nice. But as far as like, I don't know what like likes I'm getting. I genuinely don't know how many my views are doing right now because it's bad for me. It really affects me a lot. So if I do that, I'll just start getting really depressed, and I'm not in the mood for that right now.
I'd prefer not to be.
Yeah.
Do you keep up with any of the kind of people that you came up with on Vine?
Who did I come up with?
Well, I mean, kind of what you talked about with, or were you part of like the Vine House thing? That was a really interesting thing to watch.
No, I was not.
Because that was, when I saw that, it was like this more organized version and more expensive version than when I came up in the Maker Studios days, where it was like everyone was kind of on the same block.
Are you talking about Hollywood and Vine?
Sure.
Yeah, which is perfect, by the way.
What do you
the
mean?
fact that all the Viners moved to Hollywood and they lived on Hollywood
purpose.
and Vine.
They're like, we got it.
It was crazy.
Just for branding.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I wasn't really. I don't think I was really accepted into that group.
Oh,
really? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Any reason?
I don't know. I've always been sort of like an outsider. So like I just don't get accepted into groups very often. I'm like kind of a loner.
Just, do you feel like by nature, like, is that where you feel most comfortable, or this is kind of like an unfortunate thing?
I think probably a little bit of both. I think that I have a hard time fitting in with super, super, super high energy all the time. And I'm very introverted, so I need a lot of just alone time and introspection and like really deep conversation about actual things. And a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's just a different personality trait.
Sure.
It's a lot of focus on like numbers and content and ideas. And like sometimes I would be hanging with people and they would literally be talking about how many less likes somebody would be getting now than they were a month ago, and talking about how they're falling off.
Yeah.
And then just be saying like, oh my God, did you see like that person got this many views? We need to do what they did. And it was making me physically ill. I think that was at my worst point with my depression and anxiety, was being in that place, because it also makes you feel not good enough if you're not doing the things that they're talking about are so amazing.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, I mean, it does.
I feel like I'm not making a lot of sense today. Sorry.
Yes, thank you for just rambling on my pod. No, it's just, it's very interesting. Well, because what year was that as far
Vine?
as, yeah.
2013.
Right. So, I mean, a decent shift in time, but you haven't really kept up with anyone?
From Vine?
Yeah.
I mean, some Viners went over to, I'm trying to think of like the big Viners that keep up with you. I mean, I guess Lele like keeps up with it. The Paul brothers keep up with it. Amanda Cerny was a big Viner, and now she's really big on Instagram.
Oh, I don't mean that they're still around. No, because
like
I think,
just like friendship wise.
Yeah.
You mean? Yeah. I mean, I keep in touch for sure with some people, I guess, but there's nobody that I met on Vine where I'm like, this is my best friend.
do you feel like when you blew up or you transitioned over to YouTube and you gained more, because you've kind of been talking about other creators talking about people's numbers, do you feel like you surpassing other people change relationships?
No, I think if anything, that makes people try to hang out with you more. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I wasn't asking if people were kind of clout chasers.
Yeah.
In the sense of people resented you, or you found out people all of a sudden, or maybe talking about you to other groups because, or they're like, she's changed, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I don't know. The thing is, a lot of it doesn't come back to you because people as adults are much better at gossiping and talking shit than they are in high school. People aren't usually coming back being like, listen, so I was at this person's house and they said this about you. So a lot of times you don't really hear about it, but I don't know. There's been so many different evolutions of my life and who I hang out with that I don't even really know how to answer that question because I wouldn't know where to start. So I feel like we need to be more specific.
Why do you think you like LaCroix?
I just like, it feels like I'm eating something.
Actually, I was going to say, wait, what is that? I got one yesterday. Someone put it in my house. I don't know who the fuck put it in my house, but it's amazing. Lindsay and I loved it before Lindsay got the fucking stomach flu last night.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. It's going around. One of you is going to get it. Not Gabbie, though. We would never give it to a guest. Jumping back to money.
Love that.
Yes, because that's all it's all about. Mm-hmm. I saw you... I'm very fascinated by it. I saw you jokingly probably bragging about being in Google Preferred. When
did I do that? I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm sure it's
to Logan
funny.
Paul.
Okay.
When he was feeling sad about not being in Google Preferred at the time, and you were like, "Well, I got it."
Yes.
What does that look like? I ask as I'm just fascinated what the other side lives like.
This is a good way to say it. Because the thing is with numbers, like they're so different from month to month. So I couldn't just give you a number. But David, for example, is somebody who gets constantly a lot more views than me, right? And even when he's not demonetized, like say his video is monetized, but he's just getting regular monetization. On a video that I would get where I had like a third of his views, I would make 2 to 3 times as much money as him, if not more. Yeah. But like my views aren't great right now, I don't think. So like he's still killing it and I'm not.
Well, I mean, I think
I'm not family friendly either, though. That's the thing.
You don't think so?
I swear, I like make sex jokes. Like
Then
I'm
why
definitely
are you
not.
preferred?
I have genuinely no idea.
Hey, YouTube, get Gabbie out of the fucking program.
No, don't stop.
She's doing fine. She's doing fine with the music videos. I've seen the production value.
I think it's because I don't talk about like important shit. To be honest.
How do you validate or not validate? That seems like I'm like, hey, you make stupid choices. No, how are you able to pay for the music videos you do? Because
Patreon.
Okay, so that's the main.
That's why I have Patreon, and people get like sometimes my fans get kind of weird about it, like, you know, we want to see your stuff too. This isn't fair, but that's my music label because I want to stay independent. So every penny that comes in through there, now I can just, because my music videos before were only like, I was capping out at $10,000 to $12,000 and didn't want to go past that. And now I can spend like 30, 40, 50,000, maybe more on a music video because of that platform.
Sure. Yeah. When you make those music videos, is it a collaborative effort as far as like the visuals of it? Not
really. I'm pretty hands-on with it. Of course, like I'm not a director. I would never call myself that. Sure. So as far as how the camera's going to move and what they think would be the best shot or way to do it, I let them handle that. But in terms of like clothes, costume, concept, story, that's all me.
When you're coming up with those ideas, is it just you kind of just straight and focused, or is it you have to like do something? Do you, I don't know if you ever feel comfortable talking about it. Do you like smoke weed and then just like write stuff down in a journal or something?
Actually, they always come to me when I'm on a run. So when I go for a run, I listen to them. It's the weirdest thing though. When I'm like running and I'm listening to music, I get a lot of visuals, and I also naturally hallucinate. I think my sober brain is most people's high brain. When I'm falling asleep, I see visions and like colors and images, and they're very graphic, usually very violent. I have really insane dreams. So then I just kind of recreate what I've already been seeing on paper or in video. Yeah.
Do you, when you're making those, do you edit the video yourself?
Oh, fuck no. Are you kidding me? That's so far out of my wheelhouse. Okay. I don't know if you watch my YouTube videos ever. God bless you if you ever do, but they're the lowest production quality. The camera's never on me because my best friend's filming and she's like, you're fucking kidding me. Like she's not even holding the camera. I know that people can have like different levers. Like the Philip DeFranco show, I do not edit. That's the last thing I want to do. The best decision I ever made in my life was handing it off to an editor. And I've been fortunate enough to have hired a better editor and then editor team. Yeah.
You know, as
that's life changing.
Oh yeah. Well, because one, it's a different skill. Yeah. Two, they add things that you would not
never
have,
see.
Right? It's kind of like the first step in a collaboration for most most YouTubers. But the reason I asked is I was like, my favorite thing is I don't ever post any of them, but editing just random stuff. A lot of the time it's just like family stuff that I don't post.
Why don't you post it? Just because it's personal?
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with social media, which is, it's funny. It's like everyone we have on has a weird relationship. I don't know how much I feel comfortable sharing with my kids. Like I share stuff, but sometimes something I talked about with Casey Neistat, and he hit on it too. There's something nice to know that this is just for me. And so I'll like edit stuff. I'll get a little high and I'll edit to music. Editing to music's like the favorite fucking thing in the world.
That's sweet. Well, it's a home movie. I think people lost sight of home movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all about like we're filming to put on YouTube or Facebook. But I love that you have that just for you and your family to look back on.
Yeah, well, especially because I don't know, there's something nice about a personal touch, because there are a lot of services just will do it for you and do kind of like the slides. But I don't know, if looking back to my early vlogs, that's that was a consistent theme. I just really liked
editing to music.
Oh yeah.
Oh, your kids are gonna love that when they're older.
No, they're gonna be
they're
like,
gonna hate it, but then they're gonna love it.
Yeah, they're gonna hate it from 12 to probably 18.
No, probably like to 22-ish.
22-ish?
They're gonna be like, oh my God, fucking stop that.
Well, I was always very close to my dad. I had a horrible relationship with my mom for a number of reasons, but there's definitely something about 23, 24 where you finally have fully clicked. For some people, it's definitely younger where you're like, oh, you're just a fucked up person too. Yeah. Like that. How is your relationship with your parents? To turn this into a therapy session.
We don't speak much.
Oh.
But I actually
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
No, it's fine. I had that click probably at maybe 27, and it was because Josh Peck, actually, he brought me to an Al-Anon meeting, which is, do you know what that is?
No.
I didn't know either, but it's basically an AA group for people who are like the loved ones of people who, basically children or partners of people who either have alcoholism or mental illness or like abusive relationships. And it's basically the support group for the people who are in love with or close to people in support groups.
Sure.
So I went to a meeting with him, and just hearing the way that they talk about it, and just, I wish I could remember the exact words because it was so eloquent the way they said it, but just stop being angry because this person's clearly hurting. And that was what clicked in my brain with like, oh yeah, like their life sucks too. And they're just acting that way because they're fucking miserable. And it helped me let go a lot lot of anger. And
that's amazing
stuff.
That that's a group. I've never heard of that.
You should try one if you struggle with it.
I always, I'm very weird when it comes to dealing with stuff like that. Even when it comes to therapy, I feel I've done it for a while. I still feel like I'm just complaining to someone, and I struggle with not feeling like I should feel sorry for myself. But I love that that's a group. Is there a reason regarding why you're not? Have you talked about why you're not close with your parents?
No, it's one of those things where I'm not privately, yes, but because I have so many younger siblings who are still in high school, I just don't want to put that on them because I don't know what they're comfortable sharing, and they still have to go to school every day, and like their friends, know me. So maybe once everybody's a little bit older, I'll be a little more open about it. I actually, for the first time, was kind of open about like one of my darkest memories on my Patreon, because for some reason I feel safe there, and like I can kind of let stuff go there.
You think of them as like the most supportive. Obviously, there are going to be people that can't afford it that support you to an even greater extent, but I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, there's just like a lot of, do you have like CPTSD at all?
What?
Oh, no, so CPTSD is it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So regular PTSD would be from like war or a car wreck or something where it's kind of like a one-time isolated incident. And CPTSD is for people who have sort of really long, ongoing, prolonged trauma. So like an abusive childhood or an alcoholic parent, or if you went from one abusive relationship to another. So it's like you've been trapped in toxicity for so long that it does stuff to your brain, and then you react to things maybe differently than a healthy person would.
I wonder, my main way of dealing with moments where you have that thing that clicks and all of a sudden you're not you for a second is to immediately leave the situation.
Give me an example.
If like something fully sets me off, right? I feel like someone's actively fucked me over or disrespected me or something like that. And I don't want to act out like I've seen my mom do it. Yeah. Right? I immediately leave the situation and just like right now I can't get that far. I would go for a run. Or I just like get into a car and just like let it out. It doesn't happen often, but it's just one of those things of like, I'm aware that I'm the child of my parents. Yeah. My relationship with my mom is way better now, but I just what I try and think of with my past is that it gave me the ability to see where things could go if I don't properly address it. Yeah.
That's a really beautiful thing though, because you can go either way with it. You can either fall into that, or you can be cognizant of it and say, okay, I don't want to be that person. Sorry to cut you off. Please continue.
No. I mean, but it's still hard because it's animalistic in the sense of like what any sort of kind of like rage would bring. Yeah. But
did you always deal with it by walking away, or did you used to kind of lash out?
I don't know. I feel like I always just kind of bottled it up in the sense of, I don't know. A lot of the reasons why I felt bad about myself growing up was specifically my mom. There wasn't a lot of support there unless someone else was against me, in which case she was my number one ally. Because then it was like that person was not fucking with me; they were fucking with her. Yeah. So it was weird because it always kind of trained me to be combative, right? It was always best to have an enemy. And I think when I talk about like I hate myself when I was in my early 20s or even mid 20s, it was because I had that combative nature of I was my best self when I was lashing out or just like completely destroying someone with words, right? I'm not a violent guy in that way. But yeah, just keeping that in. And I feel like I'm the best version of myself today. I still think that I have a lot of growing to do.
Of course.
But yeah, but it's interesting regarding the CPTSD. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So it's just basically complex PTSD.
I don't know. I feel like everyone in our office is fucking damaged because we deal with the
course.
worst. Well, no, just because, not because of their childhoods, probably, but we literally, our day is looking at the worst of the world.
Yeah.
And I always feel bad when we're covering a super horrible story because we always try and make sure that we're not numb, right? Because otherwise, then you start treating things like it's not dealing with human beings,
Right.
But that's what I kind of wonder, like how everyone else here deals with that, because that's been our last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I feel like everyone deals with it in a different way. How have you dealt with it?
With what part? The bad world?
Well,
or?
it sounds like your childhood. Like, how have you kind of made peace with it without obviously sharing stuff that you don't feel comfortable with?
Yeah, a lot of therapy. It got to a point where I was just so fucking mad all the time. And I was so tired of being mad. And it's like you said, you like to have an enemy, but it's not like I was actively looking out and wanting to fight. But I think that it was hard for me to look at anybody as anything other than someone who wanted to hurt me. So like if I really needed to be on time for something and my friend showed up late and I felt like they were always showing up late, like it wasn't because they're just humans and they're kind of late sometimes. It was this very personal attack of, you don't fucking respect me. You don't care about me. I mean nothing to you. It was just, everything was so extreme and intense because I'm a very intense person.
Sure.
So it just got to a point where it's like, my anxiety was so high that I was like waking up screaming from nightmares every night. And like right now it's kind of there again, but for different reasons. And I was just like, I need to fix this. So I went to therapy and I worked on it. And then, you know, like you can only have so many like toxic relationships or like fallings out with people before you go like, I need to fix this. But also in that process, I also kind of found out that I beat myself up way too much, which was ironically what Monster was about me being afraid that I was the monster that like my parents were, and that I was just this person. And this is why like I can't keep a relationship and like I'm unlovable and everybody hates me. And then that song ironically spun into the entire world hating me and making me out to be a monster, which was very bad for my mental health. But yeah, it's just separating myself from the internet helped a lot. And that's why I try very hard not to look. My content has completely shifted into, if I'm doing it, I'm filming it. And that's it. Like I'm not going out of my way to be like, what's the best idea? It's like, I just moved, I need to decorate. So I have a series. My friends are going to help me decorate my living room, my dining room, my bedroom. And that's my life. If I have to clean, I have a lot of chores that day, I'm going to find a way to make it content. I've always wondered what candy corn would look like if it was on a cob. So I did that. You know what I mean? It's just stuff I want to do. And if it performs well, great. If it doesn't, who cares?
Does it make you feel any kind of less human that you're kind of treating yourself like a commodity?
What do you mean?
Or as content?
No, because I think I felt less human when my week was scheduled around, okay, what am I going to do for this video? Because now it's just like, I need to decorate my dining room. And I think that there's something here. And like I film with my best friend a lot. So it's just us hanging out, talking, laughing our asses off. And then we have so much fun watching the videos together. So it's creating basically home movies that everybody sees for whatever reason people want to watch them. I get to spend a lot of time with my best friend. We spend a lot of time off camera too, but spend time with my best friend. It's helping her grow her channel as well in a very organic, authentic way. I have content. I'm getting my chores done that normally like my depression would make me not get my chores done.
Multitasking.
Yeah, it's honestly the best fucking life. I couldn't be happier.
That's great.
Yeah.
Where do you think it goes from here?
We're just gonna fucking see. I'm trying not to think about it. Hopefully music takes off to a point where I'm pretty confident that it's gonna do really well because I'm like psychic very specifically about things.
Wait, no, okay,
Listen,
expand on that.
on.
What the fuck are you talking
about? We
about?
gotta talk because here's the thing. I'm very psychic and I don't care if you believe in it because that's how confident I am in it. And there's only things.
I want to go on the record. I do not, but yes, expand.
So
make me a believer.
The worlds will sometimes, I say the universe, and when I speak of the universe, God, energy, the universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it, will send me very specific, confident messages of like, for example, I only applied to Pitt, even though I didn't have the SAT scores to get into Pitt, because I just knew for a fact that I would get in. I can't explain what it was. There was just this very weird, calming confidence of, I know I'm going to get in. Got in. I wrote my first book. I said it's going to be number 3 on the New York Times bestsellers. Number 3.
What a weird number.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And then I wrote my first song. I said it's going to be number 3 on the charts. It was number 3. I wrote Honestly an Encore. I said these are going to hit number 1 and number 2. Like my house was sold. And my real estate agent was like, listen, I know you loved that house. They took the other offer. Like it's sold. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm going to get it. Give me till like June, July, August. Like it's going to come around. I'm not worried about it. She's like, we have to go see other houses. I was like, Bridget, that's my house. I'm not worried about it. And now it's my fucking house. So there's just like very specific moments of this is going to happen, this is going to happen, whatever.
Why do you feel like your psychic abilities didn't work to predict any of kind of the backlash or controversies?
They did. You see it in my content. It's kind of eerie where like I'll make jokes saying like, oh, well, in a few months, it's all going to come crashing. So I got to capitalize now. Like I knew.
We're all living in a Gabbie Hanna simulation.
No, everybody has their own simulation. I'm just really good at predicting mine. But the universe will validate that you're not crazy with very specific things. Like one night I shot up in the middle of the night and I texted this guy I was dating at the time. I said, did you go home without your socks last night? Like very dumb. Why would you ever ask anybody that? And he was like, why the fuck are you asking me? And I said, did you? And he said, yeah, I forgot my Invisalign case. So I had to take off my socks. We were at this like campfire. I took off my socks. I wrapped my Invisalign in my socks so that I didn't break or lose them. And I went home without my socks last night. Yeah.
I need
all the time.
I want to walk through life with your level of just, no offense, blind confidence in that things are going to work out.
Yeah. I mean, I truly feel that way all the time because I know that where I'm headed is correct because of like these dumb little qualifiers of like, I predicted, okay, so I was dating these two guys at the same time. And there was like, I broke up with
This is a thing that you did for a month, right?
What?
You dated two guys for a month, right? I'm trying.
Did you watch a video about it?
I think it's just it's a thing that I imagined before you said it.
Listen, I'm psychic. Yeah. So like there was this 1 month where I was dating both guys and then like I kind of let one go because he lived to a different state, whatever. And this guy was apparently like in love with me. And he was great. And I was dating this other guy and I was having this very long psychic moment with this guy that I was currently dating where it's this space between sleep and awake where I can see images really clearly. So I saw him with this guy and I said, you're with your best friend. And he's like, what? And I said, your best friend from when you were a kid. And he was like, did I tell you that? And I was like, tell me what? And he was like, my best friend from China, who I haven't seen in 16 years, is coming tomorrow. And I'm going to see my best friend. And I was like, oh, weird. So then he was a musician. And I was like, I got sucked into another world. And I said, we're in a boxing gym. And he said, are you working out? Because like my eyes are closed and I'm just like telling him what I'm seeing. I said, I'm working out. He said, are you working out? And I said, no, the boxer is working with a musician. And I said, why would a boxer work with a musician on his music? And he said, did I tell you that? And I said, no. And he said, I used to like rap and sing while I was boxing for my breath control. I said, is that a you thing? He's like, yeah, like I don't know anybody else who does it. That's just me. So then like whoosh, rap into another world. I see the guy who I broke up with who lived in another state. And I'm with the guy that I was currently dating. And I looked at the guy and he drops dead. And then I see his name on his toe tag. And I was like, my friend just died. And he was like, what? In another world. So like all these things kept going. I wake up to a missed call from the guy who I broke up with. And I was like, so weird that he would call me. Like that I just was thinking about him so intensely last night. And he goes, yo, baby girl, where's your birthday party tonight? And I was like, are you in LA? And he was like, I'm driving from Arizona to LA right now to come to your birthday party. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have both these guys at this party. Like this is so crazy. So then a bunch of shit that I saw the night before happened. And then this guy walks up to me and he goes, why would you let me come here? And I was like, you were on your way to LA. What did you want me to say? Turn around? And he was like, you knew it would kill me to see you with him. And like he like dropped dead in my dream and like died. So like if you don't think that's psychic,
I don't believe in this at all. But I once again, I want what you're feeling. Like
it feels good. It's very confident.
I need you to give me 6 numbers that are in your head right now. The last one is the most important.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. I wish it did. Or like
I like that you
numbers.
get this out of like a weird dream thing. I had a dream last night that for some reason an Anaheim Angels fan shot me in the neck and I woke up going, please be a dream. But yours is way more beneficial.
It probably meant something. Do you ever break down your dreams?
No. Mine, no.
You have to.
No, it's like
you'll learn so much.
No, I think I think it's just weird, like it's a weird defrag brain thing. I don't think.
It is, but if you, not in a psychic way for the dreams, sometimes for me, because I'm crazy, but if you, as soon as you wake up, from a nightmare specifically, because usually those are something that's really troubling you. If you type out exactly what the dream was, you start to realize like, oh, that's because of this thing. Oh, I must be feeling this because this is coming up, blah, 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 blah. And you lose so many details of the dream the next day that if you do it right in the moment, like I had this really terrifying dream the other night that like shook me to my core, like turned on all the lights, like sitting in bed, hyperventilating, wrote it out. And then I realized it came back to like one of my most traumatic memories and how that fear was currently playing into like my current life. And I would have never gotten to that realization and that acceptance of that moment if I wouldn't have broke it down in the moment.
Well, I was going to ask you when you mentioned it earlier, because you were like, I'm having new nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that? Like,
sure. Yeah. So this one, I mean, I have so many. Where should we start?
So it's connected to a real thing though?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I guess I can get into it. I've been like more open lately. So maybe this is like the start of me being more open about my life. It's really traumatic.
This is, I mean, if you feel comfortable, I'm
okay
comfortable
with it, but it's like dark. Like, are you in a place to like emotionally receive something like this now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had this dream.
Like, I'm going to look back on this. I'll be like, I hope I didn't look too excited.
Well,
yes,
sometimes
give
like,
me your
you know,
darkness.
when people give you too much and then you're a little bit like, oh, fuck. Like, you know how to handle
Gabbie,
it?
I deal with the worst of everything. I've experienced not the worst of everything, but really bad. And I think I prefer to listen. So yes.
Oh, that's good because I love to talk, baby.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like in my real life, I like to listen a lot, but here I feel like a lot of pressure to talk.
Well, it's part of the, it's part of the, because if you don't talk, it's not a show.
True.
Yeah.
Well, people like you though. People really enjoy learning about you, and because I feel you don't offer a lot about yourself a lot.
Not anymore. I definitely talked about myself a lot more earlier on, but I'm a lot more sensitive to, it's kind of like when you talked about your siblings. Now that I have kids in school and I'm dealing with other parents, and it's a whole different world. Yeah.
Wow, that's very kind of you to care about your kids.
Yes, you know, because I've seen the negative of what happens to kids if something bad happens with like the parents, or if the parents come under fire because they said some stupid shit, and it's like, I probably haven't said the stupidest thing that I will ever say, right? And so
have you ever heard Chris D'Elia? Chris D'Elia heard it from somebody else, but I really loved it. And he was like, you know why I'm so chill and why I say whatever? Because somebody told me once, you've already said the thing that's gonna destroy you. So just let it go. And I was like, you know what?
I love that.
Yeah, we're already there. If I've already done enough shit in my life, and like, yeah, I'm a good person now, but I haven't always been. So like, it's out there. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Whatever.
But you were gonna say
dream.
Yes.
Okay, so I generally only lucid dream, where I'm very aware that I'm dreaming. So dreams aren't very scary to me because like during the dream, I'm just like, it's just a dream. Like I don't care. This one was not so much that. It felt very much more like there were presences. There was some presence in
the plural.
Yeah. So I was upstairs in this weird attic thing in my sister's room, and like I don't speak to her either. That's a whole other thing. As like a very recent thing too, where my sister and my other sisters and I, and like a lot of us were just like, we cannot have this in our life. Because I've also reached a point in my life finally where, you know, when people are like, well, that's still your sister, that's still your dad, that's still your brother, where you're just like, doesn't matter. Like if you're toxic, if you're trying to harm me all the time, like I just can't, you know? So I was upstairs and we kind of had like the shared attic room, and she kept bringing her friends up, and there were these like demons that felt very menacing and heavy, and in the dream felt like, ugh. So one of them walked up to me and they were like, you're gonna see yourself later. And I was like, what a weird thing to say, but okay. So I got scared. So I ran downstairs, and I was stuck in this room where I was strapped to this chair, and I was being forced to watch images of people having their scalps removed and their brains picked apart.
Oh, wow.
So like I'm sitting there, like I can't close my eyes. They won't let me. And I'm just watching people getting their brains ripped out. So then I'm screaming for help. And then I hear my parents in the rest of the house like walking around screaming at each other. So I'm like screaming for help, and then the chair like gets sucked out, and I'm now in the living room of this weird house, which I now recognize as like a weird like metaphor for my childhood home. So they're running around like screaming at each other, but not at each other. They're screaming into empty rooms. They're not looking at each other. They're not talking to each other. They're just screaming. So I'm like, stop, like please stop. And I'm kneeling up on this chair backwards, kind of like this, and I'm now completely naked and wet, and I'm only wearing a towel. So my mom comes over and she walks by, and I go, please stop. And she turned around and she was me. And now it's like this weird point of view switch where I'm like screaming at myself, and then I see myself crying, saying, please stop screaming. And then that person is me. And it's just like this constant back and forth where I'm this person who's constantly screaming and also asking for it to stop, which comes back to Monster, which is about like, am I going to be this person and see myself in this person? And that's also, this guy was like, you're going to see yourself later. And I realized that it meant like, you know, later in life, you're going to start. I'm also reaching an age where I'm realizing I have these weird little things that my mom used to do. Like I would sit here and do this. And like, this was a thing my mom always did. So I get really like anxious when I catch myself doing that thing, because I'm like, that's something my mom would do. So then I'm in this towel and I like fall backwards off of the chair because I'm scared. And as I was typing it out in the morning, I realized it came back to like this terrible memory from when I was like probably junior high or high school, where my dad started like beating me while I was in a towel, and like my towel fell and it was like very embarrassing. And then he like punched my hamster cage and I was like, oh my God, where am I going to put my hamster for the day? So that was something that I've never processed or really like allowed myself to think about, because it was so just humiliating and painful and like just the shame of it. So then I was able to, in my current life right now, be like, okay, you're an adult, you have a house, you know, have all these healthy people in your life, and this doesn't have to be you. Like, you're not this person, and like, you can't let people hurt you like that anymore. And it came back to this very toxic relationship that I just recently got out of, where he was very like emotionally abusive and lied to me a lot and was always manipulating my feelings. And I finally just had this moment of like, I'm free of that. Like, I'm not this person anymore. I'm not going to be this person. And it was just like an enlightenment, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have typed out my dream, which is why we're coming back to that.
So a dream, a horrible, horrible nightmare with a somewhat happy ending.
Yeah, because like the next day, like I was so overcome with like emotion and like sadness, and I was like thinking about it, but then I was able to talk to my friends about it, which is something that I've never done, because it was like I felt ashamed of that, and I shouldn't have, because it wasn't me. I didn't do anything wrong. I was a kid, but like, I don't know. It just opened me up to the fact that I'm talking about that moment now on this podcast. That never would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have to have those moments. I mean, was that something, because obviously there's a difference of what you talk about and like the privacy of with a therapist versus obviously even this, and then with friends.
They're all starting to be pretty similar.
Well, I feel like maybe that's healthy, because it's less of a burden. Like not to completely shit on me, but it's not like we go super far back or anything. But it's like the fact that you'd feel good or fine with sharing it. In this, I feel like that kind of speaks to the lessening of a weight.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I've learned to start letting go and giving it to other people to kind of like absorb. And like the comments on that, there was one
Gabbie, how the fuck did you hold it together? And I just felt a tear on my face.
I mean, like you heard my voice crack a couple times, but this will make me cry. The comment, like I'm going to start crying right now, because her comment was so beautiful. I was like, this is like, I had a psychic moment last year where I was like, this is why I'm here, and like to do this shit. This woman commented, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's so sad. And she was like, this part where you said they were like running through the room screaming at each other, that's who I am. And I feel like I'm affecting my daughter, and like I will never scream in front of her again. And I was like, fuck, like I'm so happy I shared this, because this one little kid is just gonna be like maybe slightly better off, because maybe when she starts like yelling at her husband, like she might think, where's the kid? Like, is she being affected by this? So I don't know, it's worth sharing sometimes, I guess.
Of course. I think that it speaks to the power of...
So I have the ugliest cry face because I have Botox on my forehead. So it's like really hard to like hold it back sometimes.
I love that we have to think about like what we look like while we're processing shit in real time.
Yeah, it's bad.
I think I don't want to call it a superpower, because I don't want it to be something that's encouraged, but I think that we can use trauma to our advantage, in the sense of, one, catching ourselves, just because the shitty thing with it is, at the end of the day, every kind of abusive thing that happened with someone they were born, they were just a baby raised like just a regular fucking human being that ended up inflicting harm onto another, right? And then realizing that everyone has that potential, and also highlighting, I feel like, thanks to my abuse, I wish obviously it never happened, I will never do that to my children.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think the sharing of that story, it relays that to someone that is dealing with whatever they're dealing with now. Not obviously to all, right? Because there's some people that that's just unfortunately who they are. That they're not, they weren't processing what this is doing to a child. I mean, even thinking now, like my son's 5 years old, shit's going to start sticking.
Yeah.
Right. And it's based off of my interactions with him, the interactions I have with my wife, what he watches, because he's just going to absorb it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that you're sharing that.
Yeah.
So
and maybe I'll do more in the future. Like I said, I think that opened up a part of me where I'm like, okay, maybe I can talk about this because they're not really as extreme as they were with us anymore. So I don't think that like it's something that's embarrassing to like my siblings to like hear about, because it's not, I don't think it's really happening to them.
Well,
like
I hope that you do, just because I know, unfortunately, obviously there's gonna be people that are saying like, in a way, whether you even had the thing monetized or not, because we all grow, whatever, they're gonna be like, oh, you're monetizing this. Motherfucker, it's yours to monetize. It's your.
Oh, I've never cared about that. I'll monetize whatever I want. Like if I'm choosing to like put my life out there in whatever capacity, like my book is full of, you know, like little hints of childhood trauma and stuff. And I am going to monetize it because that's my life. And that's what I chose to do. Fuck it. Yeah.
I love that. So when you talk about kind of the opposite end of kind of these horrible things, what do you feel like what do you view as success now?
Oh, wow. What a question. I've definitely stepped back and stopped comparing, because that, you know how that, that does. And it was more so an ego thing, not even so much like, oh, I want these views, but because I've been around so many people for so long that care about the views, when my views are low, I know there's people out there being like, she's falling off, and like talking about it. So I had to stop giving a fuck about that. But for me right now, the idea of success is just, it sounds so corny and cliche, but I'm doing stuff that makes me happy. Like every day I get to wake up and write music and record and perform and focus so much on that, and, you know, inspire and help people in the process. And I mean, I know that my music career is going to be great because, you know, delusional confidence because of being psychic or whatever. But even if it didn't, just the fact that I'm able to sustain myself doing that. And like, I have a beautiful home and amazing friends, and even without the beautiful home, I have amazing friends, and I'm happy and I'm doing what I want to do.
I love that.
Yeah, it feels good.
So one thing that
What's your success?
What's my success?
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be, so when you were talking about some people, like it's very connected to the dollar. I was raised that way. Like you were, and this was obviously even before YouTube was a thing. Like my dad was like, the dollar is a thing that matters. The dollar is what gives you value in life. It's it's success, right? It's, you know, it's the difference between surviving and thriving, right? And like I was raised that if you're not like thriving and you're not taking advantage of every single thing, that you're just kind of passing through life. And there's little grains of truth in there, but for me, thriving is like being able to go to my son's soccer games, right? Being able to have been there for like first steps and hopefully not fuck up this kid and like help him figure shit out. And just actually, I pulled back on my Friday show. I'm probably going to change my schedule in the next year for the main show, spending more time with my wife, just because like, it's interesting. We've started trying to make sure that we go on more dates and stuff like that. And it's been this fun process of like, always loved her. Then, you know, you grow an appreciation for her as a wife and then as a mother. And then it sometimes is like an active effort to not just be like, and that's what you are. And like, it's very fun because like every month I find myself finding a new reason I love or appreciate her.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And or ways that we frustrate each other to not be super like whatever. But I think that's it. Obviously, not to discount the dollar enables it. The dollar changes relationships in the sense of like, I remember being in college broke as fuck, and that puts a lot of strain on it. So it's like, it still matters, but it's not the thing that moves me. And I understand that's a privileged position. But I think, Yeah, I think for me,
it's a
that's
privileged position that you did work for, though. And I think there's something to be said
Work
for
plus luck, yeah.
working. I say the same thing. Thank you for saying that, because every time I say that, people go, oh, that wasn't luck, it was hard work. I was like, it was hard work and luck. There's people who are much more talented and
motherfucker, perfect timing, lucky timing.
Great timing. Yeah.
But when you were talking earlier about like the slow burn, I get that. Like I grinded out for years to get that, like the gain. There have been, obviously there's the peaks and valleys, and I don't get stressed about it because I've, over the past 10, 12 years, I've experienced the highs and the lows. But yeah, it's where I'm at. Where I kind of want to end though, because you talked about success and happiness. What is like something that you would tell someone that's listening right now, like a thing that could maybe help them through a hard time or benefit them in life?
Oh, it's my life motto. Like I'm glad you asked, because it's like I preach this. One of the taglines in my song Medicate is "Make your tragedies a work of art," and that is how I get through my life. Is when I'm in my darkest, hardest times, I know that every time that this has ever happened to me in the past, I have come through it and something brilliant came from it, something beautiful, a better relationship, or I shed people that I needed to shed through that process, or I wrote something beautiful that I never would have written. And if you just try to hone in your pain and put it onto something, then you start to become grateful for the hard times too, where you're just like, this is a process. And for me, like as an artist, I'll write notes and things and then keep these feelings and these memories and these ideas. And then when I have the strength and the energy to actually make it into something, then I write a song. And it's usually, my songs get better each one, because I'm like, something painful, it's like better, whatever. And not everybody's an artist, but you're great at something. Everybody's best at something, and if you don't know what that is, ask somebody. So if you're like a kind person, you say, hey, what's the thing that you like the most about me? And a lot of people say, you're so kind and you're so generous. Then throw yourself into volunteering and let that be your work of art. And then say like, oh, I'm going to take all this pain and I'm feeling all this stuff, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it to help these kids. Or if you're a builder, then you're just like, this is really hard right now, but when I'm done with this, I'm going to take all this and I'm going to make something that's never going to let me be in this situation again. So just whatever it is, find the way. If you hate where you're living, great. Use it to be great and find a way out of where you're living. Get out of that. If you don't like being with your family, awesome. Find the strength in that to find a way where you don't have to be living with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's taking a lot of otherwise raw, explosive energy and directing in a positive direction.
Yeah, there's always positivity that can come out of anything. And I've recently come to the realization, because people say like everything happens for a reason, which I'm guessing you don't believe in.
Not at all. No, it's all chaos.
Yeah. I think it's all chaos, and it's easy to look at things, because I could easily look back at my life and be like, oh, that happened for a reason. That meme happened for a reason because I wrote this EP that did great and got me great management, or this happened for a reason because then I did this video that exploded and got me, but whatever. It's not that it happened for a reason. It's that it happened and you chose not to waste it. So don't waste anything.
And that's the note we're ending on.
Yeah, cool.
Gabbie Hanna, thank you so much.
Sorry for crying.
Yes. Oh no.
Crying on YouTube.
Like that's not how I'm going to open the video, because I'm a manipulative fuckface.
No, you're just a smart businessman.